Guys, I do have a feeling that Mammoth will just edge out a little bit. They have been doing the practice. They do play some pretty good Siege, and they know what's going on. And I think Cafe is one of those maps where if you know what's going on, and you know what to do, it's winnable.
Yeah, very true. But of course, Kelton's Knights, they thrive on the old maps. The maps that play a little bit more like the good old traditional Siege, Oregon, Bank, Cafe. These are the maps that they want to be going to, and they have thrived on this stage. They actually 7-1'd Desire just 2 weeks ago. Of course, last week they did lose to Rapid Response Regiment on this very map, but they still won 5 rounds, which is pretty damn good against Triple R.
Oh, I've forgotten that this has happened. Hey, Campo used to be on this roster.
Oh,
that's why they're bantering in the chat. Yo, I completely forgot that was a thing that happened. Oh, they miss each other. That's real cute.
That's real cute. We're actually talking to Chef because he came here and he actually said that like Campo's still in the team Discord and stuff. He's basically still on the team.
Oh my god. So yeah, with the vetoes that came out, apparently Campo literally told Mammoth before the game even started, "No, mate, you're not getting Shala, you're not getting Club. That's not happening."
Which they're gonna ban.
yeah. And
there's
so
a bit of colluding going on.
Mammoth actually had the option to go to another map. I was a little surprised that we ended up on Cafe. I will be honest with you. Because, you know, for Kelton's Knights, they can't workshop the new maps. You know, they can't play Cones, they can't play Labs. Surely they haven't played Sky, but maybe Mammoth just hates Sky as well, which is fair enough, right? So I'm a little surprised that we ended up on Cafe, but it's fair enough.
Yeah, well, the bans have flown by. The Mirror and the Azami have gone down, which are the big operators for creating those power positions, particularly in Piano. But it does mean that the Solus has stayed in, which I think makes attacking a little bit difficult. That said, drones are already pretty hard to get into the map on Cafe, just due to the architecture and there only being a couple of entryways. Does seem to be a very anti-drone roam-heavy setup. We've got Solus, Vigil, and Mute. That's 3 of the 4 anti-drone operators for Mammoth on this first defense downstairs in Kitchen.
Very interesting. That would lean into the fact that they are probably extending out their roam, so we can see they're not actually holding on to Bakery. There's no rotation hold being played there. Instead, they're going to try and hold on to the remaining 2 floors for as long as they can, right? By aiding by that intel denial, like you said. It does make me a little worried for Kelton's Knights, but it seems like they've actually realized what's going on, right? They're actually switching off the Hibana and going on to the Ace instead, and they've also brought along the Thatcher for good measure. So it does indicate to me that they've realized, okay, Bakery control's actually been given to us for free. Let's pressure that out early with the lineup that we've got, and then see where we can go from there.
Yeah, well, this is a very roam-heavy setup, and the Dokubi's banned as well, which would be one of the counters to this setup. Kelton's Knights are a team that love to just simplify things, and if they see, as you said, Bakery is free, they would love nothing more than to just simplify the take, ignore the roamers, and push site from a very strong but single directional kind of attack, which does seem to be what they're telegraphing here by 4 players being outside of Bakery.
Yeah, the only player that Mammoth really need to keep tabs on right now is Josh, who's on his own solo lurk just outside of Dining. He is going to be the one to look for that backstab in the opportune moment, try and find those roamers as they rotate back in from brown, back in from white, and they're going to need to be very careful on their fall off.
Yeah, this is so free. Have a look at this from Kelton's Knights. So much map control already taken, and they are so close, mere inches away from the bomb site. Of course, do not forget, Mammoth have vertical dominance. They have holes above the site, and it will be very difficult for Kelton's Knights to plant. Of course, if they can kill these few players on site, it does open up a big opportunity to rip the rug out from underneath this defense.
And this is exactly what Vin is capitalizing on now, just as you're speaking of it. As soon as that site pressure comes out, it has forced all the defenders to then fall back in towards that vertical, then freeing up that red entry, and Vin is going to make use of that really nice shot as well from Cambo to unlock the bomb site for Kelton's Knights.
Very nice. Good read there from Frixel, but he's actually getting pressured from above. Vaulting Vin himself up top. Tempted to use a flash, but Frixel is forced on back. This has been pretty disastrous from Mammoth. Kelton's Knights have read this perfectly, pressuring the site, as you said, tempting those roamers to come back to site. And now, significant numbers advantage puts Mammoth in a very awkward position as Chef Jeff looks to make his way down the red stairs. There's a player down below him, and he does take him down. But elsewhere, things are getting disastrous for Mammoth. Hunt has claimed one of his own, though. Kelton's Knights need to be extra careful here not to deliver any 1v1s to Mammoth.
Hunter is going to be the player on the site to seriously lock things down. That flood could come through at any time, but he's going to aid himself with his own yokai drones and prevent that from happening. Chef Jeff as well, realizing that he is tangoing with Vinny on top, has actually decided to rejoin his teammate instead, knowing that in the final 30 seconds, those yokais could be the win condition.
Yeah, but not when he is alone. There's 3 players to deal with. Pat is going to move on in, but Worthy wobbles his way forward through the site and takes down Hunter, delivering a very convincing first round for Kelton's Knights.
Well read, I think, from Kelton's Knights. They had it right from the get-go. Bakery was given up to them. The only thing that was protecting the wall was a mute jammer. Of course, if it was a KE, they probably would have had a little bit more trouble, like opening it and that kind of thing. But when you're going for such an extended roam, you can't really like afford to bring along those like anchoring, lock out the bomb site kind of operators. So I think that Mammoth putting a lot of eggs in the roaming basket, I would say, that was later capitalized on by Kelton's Knights. Vinny, of course, a very pivotal player there in that top floor, putting all that pressure down as all of Mammoth got a little bit claustrophobic on the fall off.
If you're an OG O's fan, keep an eye, next time we have the operator pick phase, keep an eye on all the operator cards that Kelton's Knights are running, because you've got like the Chiefs one, the Wild Card one, the Knights one. It's so wholesome. I love it. Throwbacks to the good old days. But of course, these days, there's one thing on their mind, and it's money, money, money. $4,500, the difference between 3rd and 5th. Winner goes 3rd, loser goes 5th. That's $700 each. Mandy, what would you do if you got $700 tomorrow?
Buy new camping gear.
Ooh,
Go camping.
like a tent or?
I've already got a tent. I need to upgrade my sleeping gear. I almost froze to death last time I camped in Canberra. It was like -5 degrees, and I was like, holy crap, it is cold.
Do you have like a snow gear sleeping bag?
No.
Oh.
You don't really get those in Australia. It's quite cold usually. But anyway, alas. It's going to summer now, so it doesn't really matter anyway. Anyway, the bomb site is going to be this second floor one. Over in, it's actually mining and dining, I believe it is. It's not reading, which is a little odd, a little unusual for the defense. But Mammoth clearly have something cooking. It looks like they are holding on to that top floor, but not like too extensively, right? Of course, there is no Izami. There is no mirror. So the only thing that they can do is aid these long lines of sight. They've got both their 1.5 X's on this top floor, looking to deny the entry.
Good start from Pat, using his XSX Kairos to clear out that Aruni gate, and there is no catch whatsoever protecting that shield at Pixel. So JPK is somewhat more exposed now. Speaking of exposed, here's Frixel. He escapes shot, but he's in a bit of a pinch at the moment. We'll try and delay as much time and dronage as possible before he falls back, no doubt.
Frixel's not in a bad spot, I think, especially since they haven't quite spotted out his position just yet. We were just on board with the drone work of Pat. Okay, now we see him and he's gone. Okay, calling it out to the entry it's come through. Campo's just dropped down into shop, but it's going to take a little bit of damage to himself, but Frixel's actually going to get away with his life. Not too bad so far from the roam game of Mammoth, getting a lot of time value out of this roam.
Yeah, Killerman's got a great operator for this position. In the absence of a mirror, he must hold on to it with the dog, but Pat goes deep and finds his head anyway, looking for a second now as JPK is able elsewhere to scrounge one back from Mammoth. But Kelton's Knights, at the end of it all, have this top floor control and can start pressuring the site. As I say that, Jumpin' Josh does find another kill.
But the thing that Kelton's Knights have got to be worried about now is that not only are there the yokais of Chef Jeff, but there's even the Maestro cameras as well of Hunter. So once they actually get inside of the bomb site, chances are there's going to be like 2 or 3 cameras staring down the barrel of the diffuser. Pat's got to be really careful. He's got to make sure that there's someone proactively watching that info as Jumping Josh goes in downstairs and is going to look for the backstab. I can only imagine he's trying to hunt Chef Jeff here.
They should know where Josh is. He's already found one from this position down below. It's Kelton's Knights look to prep for this execute. Not a lot of time left, and they're making sure that they can take out all of those evil eyes from Maestro. Well, they'll just take out Maestro himself. There are still yokais at large, however, as JPK finds 1 kill. Keep in mind those yokais to deny plant on the site. And as, unfortunately, Chef Jeff finds himself all alone, he will need to use those yokais. But first, he must deal with Josh behind him. He's going to have to take this fight. But unfortunately, he does not read the situation right, and he loses it to Josh, gifting Kelton's Knights their second round.
I think, once again, well read from Kelton's Knights through the mid-rounds. I think at some point they'd figured out that the win conditions of that round were to make sure that they were actually proactive in that late round. Even though they had control of the bomb site technically pretty early on in that execute phase, they just kind of sat there and like held on to their control and like waited for the defense to actually like take those engagements with them, right? They knew that as soon as they were going to try and get the bomb down, that it was probably going to be denied by whatever was left inside the bomb site, right? So I think just not being too hasty on getting themselves inside and getting the plant down and actually taking those engagements and keeping track of them was what they needed.
I love it from Kelton's Knights. 2 rounds in a row, attacking on Cafe. Doesn't get a lot better than that. And we talked a little bit about the map veto. It really does feel like Mammoth losing their opportunity to play Chalet and there are the strongest maps has really put them on the back foot here. Cafe just seems so run-of-the-mill for Kelton's Knights, which is funny because, I mean, they did lose it to Triple R, but Mammoth, I mean, they've banned Cafe almost every playday thus far. I assumed it was one of their back pocket maps, but maybe they never intended to go here at all.
It did really surprise me when I saw Mammoth go to this map. I mean, I guess it does lean into what they know how to do, and they're pretty good at doing the most fundamental stuff, but here's a really nice run out from Killer. Now, of course, those Valkyrie cameras aren't as strong as they used to be. They get disabled after 10 seconds, but about 6 seconds of the round is all he needed to claim that run out onto Campo. Yeah,
that's really nice. It's a very old run out, a real classic, but I guess you're right. People do forget about runouts these days from Valve cameras, and Frixel has the perfect timing on that read as well. Not sure how he had the information for that one, but immediately Kelton's Knights are in a 3 versus 5, which on Cafe attack is not where you want to be.
Sometimes all you need is some good Spidey senses, and when you play Solus, that's the right operator to do it right. Sometimes you got a bit of info, but you've got to merge the info with the Spidey senses and the game sense to make it work. But here goes Worthy on his lurk up the white stairs. He seems to be fully aware that there is a player behind the bookcase just inside a reading. He's going to make use of the rotate to himself and actually claim the site control to his hands. No one left in terms of anchors, and they've all got to fall back and try and claim his life.
Yeah, this is so awkward now for Mammoth. They might still have numbers advantage, but Worthy has gathered so much information by simply walking through the entire bomb site. He's literally just taking the position that Chef Jeff was playing.
Tough spot now for Mammoth. What do? Do they wait out for the rest of the entry to come through adjacent to the map, or do they all try and fall back and take the fight here onto Worthy? Seems like one player is keeping tabs on him on the white stairs. The info does go out, and he takes a little bit of damage, but not enough to take him down.
Oh, Hunter does find one as he drops into Laundry. Worthy is very aware of that position and does take his head clean off. Pat now needs to find a way to get into this game to activate. As Worthy has done everything so far, he finds his third. Oh man, is this the Worthy of old? He looks to go hunting up the stairs now for number 4. There it is. Could it be the ace? Frixel must 1v2 after Mammoth had 2 kills at the start of this round. It has all slipped away, and it is thanks to one man and one man alone. Pat looks to lock him out of the fight. That diffuser is nowhere near getting locked down. Tell me, what year is it? Worthy, an ace. Insane. Once an MVP, and he's still got it.
Oh, I think it sounds a little bit like 2021, if you're asking me. It was 2021, right, where they went back to back to back champions.
That was Worthy's year.
And it was off the back of Worthy, who was well and truly the MVP of all of OCE in that year, and it seems like it's all coming back again in this round. Really nice ace from him, making that lurk up the white stairs work. The entire bomb site was vacated because they were all flying out of windows, right? I really thought after those 2 runouts that Mammoth got, I was like, okay, surely this round is over, right? They have well and truly won the early game. They've gotten rid of the vertical, and then somehow they win it back.
Yeah, and that somehow is just Worthy, sneaking his way into sight and finding 1 kill at a time. Mammoth, a well-deserved tactical timeout now after losing 3 defenses in a row. And Mandy, if you cast your mind back, before this game started, you and Guz both said that you really were, like, it was on a knife's edge, hard to pick, but you're leaning towards Mammoth. It's hard to have that level of confidence for them now.
Yeah, I would have to agree with that. Kelton's Knights, I think, are just taking things like slow and steady. I wouldn't say they're doing anything like particularly special. I think they're just doing all the right things here on Cafe, right? Like they're making sure that front push is done with their due diligence, like it's aided by utility, aided by a lot of info. Not just that, but they've also got Josh, who's been like super proficient the entire stage, like on his lurks. The value that he's been able to get by either like drawing defenders to him and pulling a reaction, or just like going in for the backstab at the right time, like when he took down Chef Jeff as the plant was going down and like stuff like that, right? It's just like all the pieces are falling together for Countless Knights.
Credit to Josh though, because we were talking about this earlier today, right? Like, there's an era for certain play styles in Siege and certain kinds of players. And Josh was always that kind of point-and-shoot player where you just tell them, kind of like, you need someone to enter the building, right? Yeah. On the back of a drone. You need someone to do the, I've got good mechanics, but I'm not necessarily going for a lurk. I'm not necessarily contributing the ideas. But Josh, credit to him, like he's really flourishing in this lurking role, which is very different to the role he used to play on Knights.
I was just thinking about that. That's actually a really good point that you bring up, because like on this particular roster, that role is kind of fulfilled by Worthy, right? Who is pretty much like identical in terms of being one of those really strong entries. And like you're saying, being a lurker isn't easy these days. I mean, it's a fun role to play for sure, but like when you're playing off the back of your own info, you have to enable yourself rather than being directly droned in and like that kind of thing. It can be a little harder, and it means that you have to be more proactive with your own ideas. And Josh jumping on it, Jumping Josh, has done a great job, like you've been saying. Here goes another attempt at a bakery attack for Countless Knights, but this time they're actually going to be met by a little bit of resistance. Although Josh can land a grenade onto JPK. I don't know if that was actually the player inside.
I think it was. Was there no catch?
It was. I'm surprised that they managed to burn for that one. I guess that's the Countless Knights' proficiency. Maybe it was off the back of the EMPs Campo has used too to try and disable some of those catch gadgets. And he's done well.
Yeah. I mean, when you manage to successfully nade a Wamai, that's fantastic. When you successfully C4 the guy that just aced you last round, well, that's not bad either. Mammoth. Oh, they've also found another one. There's Josh, the other big hitter that you want to take down. And Killer Man, he has been so keen and so proficient this stage. Now, Campo and Vinny elsewhere have actually found their way into the map, as Pat has been left all alone. Now he's right around the corner from Chef, who seems to not really be aware. Pat almost lands that shot, but he will be turned on. And, well, with that, Knights are in a bit of a shaky position. Vinny's looking to go and replace the position that Pat was in, but it's not going to be easy when Killerman's got the 1.5 on that angle, all up to Campo.
Seems like the medicine that Mammoth needed was to actually try and face these Countless Knights players on the entry. Campo's going to begin his potential clutch here. 1 versus 4, but he can claim the first. The second one, though, rotating to safety on that single reinforcement. That's Hunter on the other side and is playing the discipline game. Killer as well. There are 2 players watching this point of entry. Surely Campo cannot win this one.
Well, it depends. It's really on Mammoth to screw up here. Got good positions, holding similar angles to play on contact. And Campo is going to rotate away. It seems like Mammoth has read this rotate as well, and they'll start to reposition too. Do they know that he's gone bakery? Okay, they will after that little tap. Needs to isolate the ones. Of course, doesn't have the diffuser. He's checking every angle. He spots one player. He could easily be swung here by Frixel, who will secure the first round for Mammoth.
Really good stuff there from Mammoth. I liked what they changed up there and actually put the resistance directly onto Countless Knights, anticipating that they were going to reattempt the bakery side push once again. Even though the player inside of the Cupcakes position did actually get taken down.
What was that about?
It was all the players that were holding his hands just next to the bomb site that actually were able to claw that one back for Mammoth. I think the medicine that Mammoth need against these Countless Knights players is actually to play some more of that entry denial, right? The last round, it was so close to being successful until Worthy got a 1 versus whatever ace, right? Like a 3v5 ace. That was pretty nuts. But I liked the idea from Mammoth, like contest him out in the entry, fly out of the windows, because that's something that Countless Knights not going to be ready for.
Yeah, absolutely. And by the time they are ready for it, we'll probably be in the second half. There's only 2 rounds left where Keltons are on the attacking side. And Mammoth, realistically, I think they kind of need both of them for a chance at winning this round, at least in regulation.
Possible. I feel like with the way that the bans have gone, it's kind of like kind of 50-50.
Okay.
I think in terms of like attacking defense, I feel like yes, you've got a lot of the like fortress operators taken down, like your Azamis and Mirrors that make like the interior really hard. But you've also got, like, on the other hand, there's a lot more. You've got all your catch operators up, right? And I think against Countless Knights, who have so far been like doing pretty good and like burning the utility and stuff like that, that's kind of like the tools that you need. I think if you're Mammoth, I don't know. I feel like it's either way.
A lot of these Countless Knights players flourished in the meta when it was all about catch, right? Like these are the your wild card players of old and your Chiefs players that were all about okay, so let's get the Thatcher here and oh no, let's like 12 stun grenades before the nade goes through. Like they're ready for that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I think that's exactly right, and I think it's really important to then have that Wamai and Jaeger combo, which is exactly what they are bringing to this defense. Josh on the other side is going to be one of the first to rappel onto the roof. This time, the Countless Knights players being very cautious on their approach to the building, anticipating that Mammoth might be sending themselves out of windows, but this time they can get there safely. They've also brought along the Flores, as we've been speaking of. A lot of these power positions, aided by stuff like shields, is going to stay standing, unless Campo can sneak in one of those Flores drones.
What's funny is Worthy, he might have died last round to an earlier C4, but that was his first death this game. 7-1. Dude has been gnarly. Pat really has been one of the shining lights, though, for Countless Knights this season. This has been far and away his best season that we have seen in terms of his stats. Unfortunately, Worthy goes down. Killerman looks for another one, but gets a little bit greedy and does lose that fight and lose the advantage that Mammoth had gained for themselves. Look at how close Pat is to that bomb site.
The site is actually very vacated right now for Mammoth. I think once again they've overcommitted a little bit to this roam. The bomb site once again is mining and dining, but hang on a moment. Here goes Hunter on the retake. It does look like he's going to look for the jump out on this window, but Pat's been able to take down Chef Jeff, who is the only remaining player on the bomb site.
And Pat doesn't have the diffuser, so he has a license to go deep and get disruptive with it. He's playing in a very off position here, and he will be able to take down anyone that vaults over into pillars. Meanwhile, Campo's done his due diligence and got the bomb down. While Pat is taken, Vinny does go for the trade. And now in the 2v3, Mammoth are in a really rough spot to try and counter-defuse this. There's a player outside the window, there's a player down on the stairs below, and guess who's above? It's the Round, tearing that floor, a new one. This is almost impossible, as surely Josh is able to find his kill. Apparently not. JPK gets away with his life for a mere moment, but it doesn't matter how many kills Mammoth can find here. The round is done and dusted. There's no way that Frixel can get the counter defuse, and Vinny will hit him with a question mark regardless. Hands up in the air. And a fourth round for Kelton's Knights.
Vin is a confused man, dude. He had no idea what was going on there. Anyway, nice one for Kelton's Knights. Identifying the point of least resistance, I think, is what they did there. I think, unfortunately for Mammoth, vacating too much of the bomb site there, once Hunter had gone down in his power position inside of Pillar, who was really the only true person that was directly contesting the entry into the bomb site, then Pat going deep and taking down Chef Jeff, that's literally all Mammoth needed to then hop in and actually get that plant down. And even though the vertical pressure could have come through, Vinny had situated himself there to make sure that couldn't happen either. So I think for Countless Knights, they just take a very linear approach to the bomb site, and it worked out because I think Mammoth might have overthought that and gone for a bit of an ambitious roam.
Yeah, story of the half. Will they find a second defense round? You know what, Mandy? We've had a little bit of a trend tonight. Do you remember what the score of the first game was?
No.
Do you remember what the score of the second game was?
The second game was 7-1, no?
Do you remember what the score of the third game was?
No way. That's unreal.
Mammoth have one round.
Oh no, don't say that.
Is that all they're going to get?
Don't say that. Not against Countless Knights.
It's been a pretty dominant one-sided game, Mandy, and defense on Cafe, when Kelton's Knights get there, I would not be surprised if they make a clean goal of it.
Oh man, come on Mammoth, you got to bring this one back. Don't make this one another 7-1, surely not. They're actually going to change up their bomb site, so they've given up on this mining and dining defense. They've realized, okay, it doesn't work out as well as we thought it did. We don't play this strat as well as we thought we did, and they're going to go over to reading instead, which I think is a fair play, going against this Kelton's Knights roster, who seems to have a pretty good lock on this bomb site. Meanwhile, the attack is going to start to situate for Kelton's Knights, once again posturing for a red drop, but here goes Frixel, looking for a run out onto the potential players repelling, but Worthy's actually down there in the basement with him.
Is this going to work? Worthy's on the wrong repel, though. If Frixel runs out right, he might find it. Oh, he loses the fight. No, they trade. Okay. Both players not even getting a headshot. That's kind of miraculous. To be honest, I think Worthy should be pretty happy with that one. Frixel's util going down early. Probably a bit more frustrating than losing Worthy.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, playing South Repel sucks. I don't know what else to say. Like that repel, like the entire side of the wall, like whether you're playing on the window, someone's going to make a rotate on you garage. You're playing on South Repel on the stage, you're going to run out on. It doesn't matter. It kind of sucks. So I think, like, yeah, you're right. Look, Worthy, he got his one. He got the one guy that was going after him. He did
die playing that position, right?
Nice second shot, though, from Josh to unlock the entry here for Kelton's Knights as they start to make their sweep in through the top floor. Surely a grenade is going to be sunk onto the Aruni of JPK, who is now very stuck in his position.
Vinny is looking for it. He still has 2 nades in pocket, but the Aruni gate is going to be in his way. Doesn't matter because Campo will find the shot regardless. Knights perfectly converge at the same time, and Mammoth are left floundering once again. Killerman, it has been his season, but it hasn't really been his game. He will need to have an impact felt in the round for Mammoth to salvage this half. He has the opportunity, but he's just missed the window for the player down in pillars. He finds one above. Meanwhile, Chef is holding down on the site. Pat, low HP, is now worried, and he has good reason to be, as he finds himself in a 1 versus 1 up against Killerman.
Tough spot now for Pat. He's got absolutely no idea where Killerman is, and Killerman is just going to play the patience game. Only 30 seconds left to go, and he's not going to make a noise against Pat.
Pat has been so phenomenal for Kelton's Knights. As Killerman starts to move forward, who's got the information? Where are the drones? Killerman has 2 possible avenues to move forward. He doesn't seem to have the read, but Pat hears the telltale sound of that barbed wire go off. He hears it again. Killerman is not overcommitting. A 3rd time he walks through and makes that sound cue. The impact, oh, it's beautiful! Pat goes down, Killerman saves the half for Mammoth and keeps them alive and squashes the dream of the 7-1.
Really well played there from the remaining 2 players of Mammoth. They were so far down in the man disadvantage, but all they needed to do apparently was keep Chef Jeff on the side, hold down the line, hold down the fortress. Meanwhile, Killerman could go for his play and collect, I think it was 2 or 3 kills to his name. So really nice shots there from the remaining 2 players to just get active, get aggressive in the numbers disadvantage, and bring that one back for Mammoth.
Yeah, I gotta say, this has actually been some pretty entertaining Cafe,
it's
Mandy.
Really good.
Yeah,
it is really good.
I know the guys on the desk were ragging on Cafe, but come back and tell me that after you've casted 50 Oregons in the same stage.
Oh man, I'll tell you what, I'm so sick of that map. If we see another Oregon like ever, I'm going to lose it. Absolutely lose it. Anyway, it doesn't matter.
But this Cafe has actually been really exciting because we haven't even seen the bar defense a single round. This is the first time we're seeing bar. Kelton's Knights are going old school.
Interesting. They're even bringing along the castle and everything. Of course, in the absence of the Izami, you kind of have to bring along castle if you want to go for like a shop piano type setup, which does look like what they are trying to do here. I can only imagine it's probably going to be Pat with the shotgun in hand. You've got like your cool Mew Jammer setup that you can do on the top of red to deny all that info. I guess the one worry that these guys have got here is that they don't really have any of those like projectile catching operators like you've been pointing out, right? So if Mammoth actually have a well-drilled shop clear, like they actually know how to land that grenade through with the flashbangs, it should surely dispatch of the setup.
Yeah, you'd think it would be quite easy to clear out a player in a hard position in shop when there's no Wamai, no Jaeger, and not even an Aruni to speak of. But you never know what'll happen. Kelton's Knights do have roamers at large as well. We saw so many runouts and jump outs pay dividends for Mammoth, and Josh, he's been the lurker on attack, and he is lurking on a roam on defense here as well. A first C4 goes out. Not sure what the idea was there, but Killerman is able to take down Pat a very early kill as he is completely caught out of his position. And guess what? That's the shot presence decimated.
Yeah, well, I think Pat realized that the bad times were headed his way, and he tried to get on out of there, but being cut off pretty quick by Killerman on the roof is not going to spell good times for him. Worthy on the other side, though, does want to hold on to this stage position for just a little bit longer. That cusp barricade is going to be dispatched off quite easily, but Worthy completely undetected in his position. Is going to collect one and almost the second, but Frixel's there for the trade.
Yeah, good trade, but once again, back for Kelton's Knights. Campo has gotten aggressive. He's just snuck by at the perfect moment, the opportune moment that Frixel lost his life. Killerman was not watching the angle, but he seems to have an inkling onto this position.
I'm actually surprised that they know what's going on here. I did not think that Campo was going to be able to retake all the way into this position. Now, as Echo, that is a bit of an ambitious thing to do. Usually you want some of your utility for the late game, but alas, he's going to try and make use of it now. And as a result, Mammoth are actually a little bit, they look kind of nervous to drop this hatch.
Oh, but they do, and they handily dispatch with Campo without a second thought. Hunter takes his head clean off. 3 players now for Kelton's Knights to find, as Vinny is getting harassed at Cocktail, but jumping Josh is holding on to his position here in Piano. Do they know? Oh no, he whiffs the shot, and that does cost him his life. Vinny now with an opportunity to try and confirm that kill. He really has to take it, and he might not even find the first fight onto JPK. Bit of a disastrous turn of events at the end of the round there for Kelton's Knights, but for Mammoth, a handy moment of reprieve.
Yeah, nice one there. I think they dialed it back through the mid-round, just recollected their thoughts on how they were going to approach it. And the moment that Hunter saw Campo inside a shop, he was like, I'm sick of this. I'm done with it. I'm dropping the hatches ace and killing him. And that's exactly what he did. And a good job there from there. All the Mammoth players just rendezvoused over on that shop side of the map, even though one of them did actually end up getting down. It didn't matter. They were able to take the 2 versus 1 onto Vin anyway. Josh was almost in an opportune spot to actually make that one work to perfection for Kelton's Knights, but unfortunately not just quite landing the shots he needed, and Hunter really just had a super round there.
Yeah, very true. Yeah, for Josh, bit of unfortunate. With the P90, it's a headshot machine, but it is it's not one for body shots, so you really got to land that bullet to the head. But Kelton's Knights, they're not going to dwell too much on bar. They'll go downstairs to kitchen and cooking. Now, it looks like a reasonably hard hold of bakery here. I love the Goyo pick. Goyo's just so damn good, burning so much time away, and that is really, I think, what Kelton's Knights will lean into here, delaying as much time as possible and trying to hold on to that bakery control. So by the time Mammoth take it, if they manage to at all, there won't be much time in the round to actually convert that into an execute.
So interesting. They haven't brought along a shield for this setup, but it's not exactly mission critical to the defense anyway. You can play it with or without a shield, especially when you've got that like massive cupcakes thing in the way, right? So I think that the Ram on the other side for Chef Jeff is an interesting pick to me. I wonder if they've actually thought about using it to clear bakery, but maybe they haven't seen that setup there and instead are going to use it for the vertical. I actually don't mind using the Ram for the vertical here. Like, you know, you prevent yourself from being C4. You can play on the hard floor of the hallways, and so there's no way that you're going to be able to be contested there on that vertical. So I don't mind the pick here from Chef Jeff. I think it's a good one onto Cafe. And they're actually going to look for that top-down clear. So they've read well, I think, into the defense of Kelton's Knights, realizing that they are holding onto the ground floor and will just take their free real estate.
Yeah, it's great, but it does take a very long time to clear the whole map. I guess the Ram does make one of the steps a lot easier, and JPK is looking to deploy some flank watch with the Gridlock. We have some crazy operator picks here, like the Gridlock and the Capitao and the Ram. Not often you would see all 3 in one lineup, but the one I really like is the IQ. There is just so many electronics on the defense that they want to find, especially the FNATs from Fenrir. But for now, it looks like just some simple map control taken. Mammoth have made excellent progress.
Yeah, so I think the danger here for Mammoth is not this early to mid-game like we've been speaking about and what they're going through just now, but it is going to be that late game later on, right? Do they have enough info onto the bomb site to then figure out where the dread mines are, actually deactivate them, and then posture themselves for an execute off the back of the vertical, off the back of the Capitao and that kind of thing? I think that's where Mammoth are really going to be tested in this round.
Well, open sesame time, as all of the ceiling above the bomb site is ripped up and Mammoth can peer down through the holes in the floor and look for these defenders. But can we just have a look at how many defenders are actually on that site? Nobody, not a single player, is in a position where they can be killed from the vertical. They've all vacated the site, but they are ready to deny that pressure on site. They are ready to retake if needed. They've got that VIP presence from Pat, but they still need to be extra careful.
I think Josh has just hopped inside of Coffee, and I don't actually know if Mammoth know that he's gotten all the way in there. Like, they must have seen him through the vertical, but this is going to be a really tough position to dislodge with only 30 seconds left to go.
That's very cheeky from Josh. He needs to perhaps to support, but it looks like a quick push in from Garage from Killerman will take down Josh and open the door now for Mammoth, but Pat looks for the refrag. The C4 could be massive, but it doesn't catch anything at all. Vinny now looking for something as Campo's found a vertical kill. The plan still not having gone down. And Frixel needs to get that diffuser so quickly, but Worthy takes him down as well. It's all up to Chef, and there's no way he can get to that diffuser in time. A valiant effort from Mammoth, but on the retake, there was no way that they could hack that defense.
Yeah, I think Kelton's Knights just like 1 or 2 steps ahead there, right? They'd realized, okay, the vertical pressure's coming through, so it's going to be a freeze attack. They knew that about like a minute left to go in the round, right? So I think once that was done, all they had to do was actually posture themselves for that and set themselves up positioning-wise. Josh actually doing a great job on his rotate back into Coffee, even though it didn't actually amount to anything. It did throw Mammoth off guard a little bit, right? As they went for that drop, they were a little bit tunnel visioned on clearing out that position. It allowed Pat to somehow make his way in through the smoke as they were going through all of that push. I've got no idea how Pat somehow, in his position, kills the player dropping the hatch, then kills the player on white, and somehow is like inside the smoke as the bomb is going down. That's kind of nuts. But yeah, I think that in all that chaos, just trying to get rid of that Coffee position, they got a bit lost trying to kill the players adjacent to the bomb site. So really well played there from Kelton's Knights.
Huge impact plays from Pat once again. He might not be top frag in the server or anything, but man, his impact has been felt. That's for damn sure. Have a look at the scoreline. 5-3. Mammoth has really struggled in this game. Now, I will give them some credit. They were down 0-3. So since then, they actually have won more rounds than their opponent. But that doesn't really account for much when Kelton's Knights are 2 rounds away from closing the game.
I think it's not over until it's over, you know. Maybe the attack half is where Mammoth will find their resurgence. They just have to play this carefully against Kelton's Knights. I think that for Mammoth, the medicine that they might need is maybe to do something a little bit more unconventional, like something a bit more modern, maybe, that Kelton's Knights are not going to be ready for. Now, I don't know what that solution is. I'm not in the lobby, and it's going to be really hard to think of it. No. Cafe is one of the harder maps to rush, right, just because of the architecture of it. So, I don't know. I'm sure they'll think of something. They are Mammoth, and I wonder what it's going to be, because they are down a couple rounds now.
Well, this is the reading and fireplace bomb site, so not mining, as we saw Mammoth continually take over and over again. This reading, though, once they did eventually defend it, was successful, and it's quite a strong bomb site for Kelton's Knights to go for. Oh, sorry, no, it's bar.
Yeah, I was just thinking that as well. I was like,
I'm crazy.
You are not going crazy, that's okay. Oh, but they're doing the shop setup again for Kelton's Knights. They are going to make their re-attempt on it. Once again, no grenade catching operators, and that's going to be dealt with super easy. All they need to do is take down that one castle barricade, and Pat was going to be in a world of pain.
That was so well played as well. They timed the breach from JPK using the Ash perfectly with that rappel angle from Frixel. There was no chance of Pat getting out of that alive. And now Josh feels like he needs to make a play, though it's clear that JPK is aware of his position. Clearly not aware of Worthy, though, who does win that nice, cheeky little angle. And now the drop into shop is not exactly what Mammoth were looking for. Campo's found one. He's got a strong position here on the piano. Oh, it's a bit of a potato fest here as he looks for the kill, crossing back to safety. Spots the head for a brief moment, but Chef Jeff gives him a cheeky haircut. Worthy now, the top fragger in the server, by no small margin, holds on to his position at Pixel.
It's going to be a tough 1-2 clear, so a couple of those when my discs are activated and online for the defense. Worthy, with those flashbangs that are going out, is going to fall back a little bit, anticipating the grenade of Chef Jeff to come in, and there it goes. Got to be careful, Worthy.
Oh, second one's coming through. He hears it, and he backs on off. He says, look, we don't need to retain control of that position. Time is ticking away, and Mammoth are the ones that need to make the next move, which is exactly what they think of now.
Yeah, it's a tough spot here for Mammoth, though. The defense looks really poised. All 3 lanes of entry are being covered by each of these defenders.
It's a waiting game for defense. As Vinny repositions, this is a deadly position, a deadly angle. Josh is baiting for him as well. Mammoth, where is this plank going to go down? Hunter starts to force it, and Vinny is taken on down. Josh just needs to deny it. It's huge. It's a double. Chef Jeff is off in Narnia. No chance in hell he makes this one work. And Kelton's Knights have match point on their hands.
Oh man, Kelton's Knights, they just do what they need to do, don't they? Even though the shop setup goes down, they somehow find a window of opportunity to run inside of stage and then delay the time for even longer. So they know that their strategy there is to hold on to the early game. And just because your one player on the front line has gone down, that doesn't mean you can't keep playing it right. And it was Worthy and Campo that really held on to this position for such a long time. And then Josh to make a super play, denying the plant from going down. Unfortunately, not enough of the Mammoth players alive at that time to cover all the necessary angles of retake that the defense had in their hands.
Gotta say, Josh has just redeemed himself after the slight whiff he had on Solus last time he played that bomb site. Remember that? It was a 1v2 and he had it. No, you don't remember that?
No, I don't remember that.
He was playing the Solus in Piano.
He was inside of Piano, yeah.
And then he like whiffs a whole mag.
No, he just sent Campo in there instead. He was like, no, mate, I'm not doing that.
You
go
take
for
that
it.
position.
Yeah.
I prefer clutching up. And he did. Huge round from Kelton's Knights, who funnily enough are the ones to take their tactical time out. Remember that Mammoth took theirs after round 3 when they were down 0-3. And now Kelton's Knights are taking it, giving Mammoth a chance to reset and get their heads back into it.
Interesting. I think Kelton's Knights, they want to close this one out, right? They're probably going to have a chat about what they're like the final potential bomb site's going to be. They've got a couple options there open for them. Actually, do they? Because they won 2 in a row.
Kitchen and Bar were both locked. So
they could have only gone
the 2 tertiary sides, the 2 fireplace sides.
In that case, you just talk about like the one strat that you're going to go for here, right? And I think for Kelton's Knights, it does look like playing, I don't know what this one is, to be honest. I guess like just bringing along all the necessary tools to actually just keep tabs on your enemies. Like not only do you have the Valkyrie to have the info on the top floor, but you've also got the Legion for any of that passive intel that you might need as well. And not just that, but then you've got Josh, who's been super proficient on the Solus to keep track of the droning and see exactly what Mammoth are going for. So far, I think Mammoth have been a little telegraphed in their pushes. I would say has been the downfall of a lot of their attacks, and the Solus has really aided that.
I think what Kelton's Knights want to go for here, because it's worked for them twice in a row, right? You play the early round, you play the mid round, and it's all about time delay. So that when it comes to that late round execute, even if it's a 3v3 or a 2v3, you're probably going to be able to play make your way into denying that plant. Same thing has happened on Kitchen, same thing happened on Bar. If they can replicate that philosophy here on reading, that would be GG.
That's a good point. As you're saying, Cafe is one of the maps that, like, as soon as you finish the early game, you have, like, your secondary power position. There is no way that Worthy just landed a headshot onto poor Frixel, who we barely even saw on our screens.
He's just fighting 2 guys on 2 separate windows, and he makes it work. Worthy really is having a resurgence here tonight. 13 kills, plus 9 KD, and he's making his escape as well, as Mammoth are reeling from that early disadvantage.
Worthy as well, still within this position. It does make me wonder, are Mammoth going to pivot here, right? Are they actually going to try and clear him out? It does look like they are still poised to clear out that shop position. There is still a hallway inside of Pixel activated for Worthy. Of course, he is going to aid it with his own Wamai discs, and Campo is somehow going to land another really nice headshot, long angle onto Chef Jeff entering in from shop.
It goes from bad to worse for Mammoth. Killerman, he has had quite a killer season and a pretty good game. 10 kills in 9 rounds, but he's looking for more here on the cocktail rappel as Mammoth have completely stalled out.
Really tough spot now for Mammoth. Top floor hasn't even been forfeited to their control, but Campo peeking the rappel onto Killerman is going to afford him 1 pick back. 4-on-3 now is not a super winnable position. I think it's still tough with only a minute left to go, but it's certainly within the realm of possibility for Mammoth.
It's 1 kill at a time, that's all that's required, but Hunter going down leaves it just up to JPK and Killerman. JPK goes down as well. It's all up to Killer to live up to the name in the 1v3, but Josh is hungry for it, as he always is. Loses his life, and the antsiness can be felt from Kelton's Knights. They are eager to finish it off, but so is Killerman. Surely not a 1v4. It's never gonna happen. Rejoice for the retirement home as Kelton's Knights secure 3rd place in Stage 2 of the Oceania League. A convincing win over Mammoth ties up their season in a neat little bow.
I think a well-deserved win as well for Kelton's Knights. They didn't overthink it. They just played some classic Cafe. They did what they needed to do, and I think they just played that map very proficient.